Hello everyone, welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today, we will recapping an action Korean movie, from the year 2019, titled Start Up. Tells the story of a young man who leaves home due to economic problems, and accidentally works in a restaurant, run by the leader of the Korean mafia, and together will lead him to meet adventure and friendship. So, make sure you watch this video till the end, for a better experience. At the beginning of the movie we will be shown with two people named Taek Il and Sang Pil, where Taek Il has just bought a motorcycle online, but it turns out that the condition of the motorcycle is old and easily breaks down. When the two of them were traveling around the city with the new motorcycle, suddenly there was a motorcyclist who teased them and broke Taek Il's rearview mirror. Taek Il and Sang Pil immediately taught him. On the other hand, the police saw that Taek Il and Sang Pil were driving recklessly and finally the police chased them. Taek Il tried to avoid the police chase, but because his antique motorcycle broke down, the two of them fell on the bushes. Because of that incident, Jung Hae-In, Taek Il's mother, was immediately called to the police station and she immediately slapped her son to the ground. The next day, Taek Il had a plan to escape from his house. After thinking about various things, he finally decided to go to the bus station. At the bus counter, he was confused about his destination because he did not have a goal to escape. Even so confused, he made a long queue at the bus counter. Finally, he chose to go to a city called Gunsan. Long story short, after getting off at the bus station, Taek Il, who was starving, saw a restaurant that sold food for 3,000 won if eaten on the spot. When entering, Taek Il was greeted by the owner of the restaurant named Kong. He immediately ordered food and immediately ate it. Shortly after that, a male employee appeared who had just finished delivering food, but suddenly, the night when he was going to sleep in the sauna, he suddenly got a message from his mother, but he ignored the message. The next day, Taek Il returned to the restaurant yesterday and intended to work as a food delivery driver, but as a condition Taek Il had to work for at least 3 or 4 months. Kong gave this condition because he knew that Taek Il must have run away from home. Shortly after that, the food delivery man appeared, and Kong immediately announced that Taek Il would start working today. Meanwhile, Sang Pil, who was looking at cell phones, was approached by a man named Dong-Hwa. He invited Sang Pil to work at his workplace because there was an opening, but Dong-Hwa did not want to tell what his job was about. On the other hand, on the first day of work, Taek Il, who was curious about the chef at the restaurant, immediately approached him to see what kind of person he was, who was known to be named Don Lee. Don asked who Taek Il was, but Taek Il instead answered arrogantly, and because of his arrogance it was sudden. As a result of the incident, Taek Il immediately fainted, so Don carried him to the house where they lived. The next day, Taek Il returned to work, and unknowingly began to form a friendship with Don. On the other hand, Sang Pil was accepted for work and could immediately start his job, which turned out to be working as a debt collector. Once he found out about his job, at first Sang Pil looked confused, but Dong-Hwa quickly invited Sang Pil to distribute the company card of the moneylender. On the way, Sang Pil saw Taek Il's mother, who was talking to a woman on the side of the road. In the evening, when the three of them were eating, Don said that Taek Il had been expelled by his mother. Taek Il, who did not accept Don's words, then intended to scold Don, but it turned out. The next day, Taek Il delivered food orders as usual, but because of the location on the stairs, he was forced to walk to the delivery place. It turns out that the person who ordered the food was a woman who had met Taek Il at the bus station before, and this woman was named Kyung-Ju. Taek Il was annoyed because Kyung-Ju seemed to deliberately make it difficult for him to try to teach him a lesson, but a moment later, when Taek Il began to wake up, he was surprised because it was already night. Taek Il also looked weak when he learned that Kyung only paid 3,000 won. Even though that price only applies if he eats at a restaurant. When Taek Il went to the toilet, suddenly his cell phone rang, and after picking it up, it turned out to be from Sang Pil telling Taek Il about his mother. However, Taek Il did not want to listen and immediately hung up the call. Meanwhile, when Kyung-Ju returned to the rental house, she saw two men who were busy talking with their friends. It is known that Kyung-Ju lives in the rental house with her two female friends. Kyung-Ju then intends to forcibly evict the men, but ends up losing. She chooses to run away, and at the same time Taek Il, who is relaxing with his coworkers, is suddenly surprised by the appearance of Kyung-Ju. Because he still holds a grudge, Taek Il decides to come after him, but while chasing him, Taek Il is again surprised by two men who are also chasing and trying to put Kyung-Ju in the car. Seeing the treatment of the two men, Taek Il intends to help the girl, but because he has no martial arts knowledge, he is very easy to beat. When Kyung-Ju is about to be put in the car, suddenly Tae Sung appears to help them, and because of the commotion, many residents finally pay attention to them. Because of fear, the two men chose to leave the three of them. The battered Kyung-Ju is immediately taken to the restaurant for treatment, but moments after that Kyung-Ju chooses to leave. The next day, Taek Il is very upset with Don, because last night he did not step in to help him. But Don insists that a man must be able to finish what he has done. Elsewhere, we are shown Jung Hae selling in a new place. It turns out she bought the place from a woman Sang Pil saw on the side of the road that time. One day, Taek Il came to Kyung-Ju to give her food. They talked and interacted well, without even realizing they had started a bond of friendship. On that day, Sang Pil and Dong-Hwa were seen chasing after a man who borrowed money from the company they worked for. On the other hand, it turned out that Taek Il returned to his home in Seoul, but because his mother was not at home, Taek Il went to see Sang Pil. Here Sang Pil felt sorry for Taek Il's work, and tried to persuade him to join the company where he worked, but Taek Il heard that instead told Sang Pil to stop working, because he really hated the job as a debt collector. After arguing with Sang Pil, Taek Il went straight to where his mother was selling, and made his mother upset because Taek Il didn't come home. Taek Il told his mother that he was now working at a restaurant in Gunsan. His mother, who heard that, immediately told him to go home and asked him to continue his studies, but Taek Il refused, and emphasized that he would continue living his current life. The next day, Jung Hae is suddenly visited by a man who tells her that this building is a temporary building, and he will dismantle it the day after tomorrow. On the other hand, Sang Pil will be assigned to collect the debt of a man who owns a butcher shop. At first the Pil is very brave to collect the debt from the man, but soon Sang Pil is beaten until he has to be sent to the hospital. Meanwhile, Taek Il, who was working, was suddenly pulled over by a car, causing Taek Il to walk on the sidewalk and hit a road sign. Long story short, it turns out that Kyung-Ju has joined the restaurant, and in the evening when they eat together, Kong gives Kyung-Ju a special room to live in, which is his daughter's former room. To celebrate Kyung-Ju as a new employee, Don invites them to karaoke together. However, when they were going home, they accidentally met the man who had beaten Kyung-Ju, and the man immediately dropped Taek Il. Seeing that Don accidentally reproached the man, and because he did not accept Don's words, the man came straight to him and suddenly. Fortunately, they managed to escape that night. Long story short, after Sang Pil was discharged from the hospital, he immediately went to the butcher and immediately beat him. He also took a knife to kill the butcher. While at the restaurant, suddenly two men yesterday came to avenge their insults. Don, who heard the commotion, suddenly came out, and immediately beat them. After the police arrived, they were all taken to the police station, including Don. Here it is seen that the police already know who Don really is. After they all go home from the police station, we will all be shown with the past of Don Lee. It is known that Don Lee is a respected leader of the Korean mafia. Initially, Don accidentally entered this restaurant after a fierce duel with other mafia members and was seriously injured. While resting, he saw Kong about to commit suicide, so he saved him because Don was sick of seeing people die in front of his eyes. It is known the reason Kong committed suicide was due to frustration after the death of his daughter, and since then, Don has not returned to his group and chose to stay at the restaurant as a chef. The next day, when Taek Il arrived, he was confused because there were so many mafia standing outside. It turned out that they came to pick up Don. Even the vice leader personally came to ask Don to return, because since Don's departure, other groups began to make trouble, even united to destroy them. Although at first Don refused, but in the evening Don decided to return to his old life. Shortly after that, when Taek Il and Kyung-Ju were talking, suddenly Taek Il was called by Sang Pil, who said that his mother's shop would be demolished tomorrow, because the shop had been labeled as an illegal shop, because apparently, Jung Hae had been cheated by the old owner. The next day Taek Il and Kyung-Ju went straight to the shop, but Jung Hae always diverted the conversation and hid the demolition of her shop. On the other hand, the lone shark boss forced Dong-Hwa to stab the butcher, but out of fear Dong-Hwa ended up just torturing him. After getting the money, they immediately went to collect the debt, and this time the boss will collect the debt from Jung Hae. Previously Jung Hae had borrowed money from them, and had been late paying for about a week. Elsewhere, Don casually went to the mafia headquarters of his enemy. Don warned them not to disturb his territory, but because they could not cooperate, Don immediately beat them. At the same time, Sang Pil, knowing the boss's purpose, tries to prevent him from collecting the debt from Jung Hae, and when Taek Il arrives, he immediately blames Sang Pil. They quarrel, but suddenly the loan shark boss finds the money given by Taek Il, but because he is unwilling to his son, Jung Hae insists on taking the money and she will definitely pay off the debt. Back to Don. After getting out of the headquarters with injuries, he was immediately picked up by the vice leader, but on the way Don asked to stop at a restaurant, and jumped right into cooking no matter how crowded the restaurant was. Some time later, Jung Hae's shop finally remained demolished because it was illegal, and they also sold their house to pay all their debts. Finally, they lived with Sang Pil and his grandmother for a while. After everything passed, Don decided to return to being a chef, while Taek Il chose to live with his mother and the movie ended. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, and support our channel by subscribing, so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. And until next time.